So, I'm born and raised here in Harrisonburg. Went through Harrisonburg City Public Schools, graduated from Harrisonburg High School, had a career in retail management, did new store openings and then marketing manager for TJ Maxx, went off to Richmond. Came home around 2013, and I only came home because of my grandmother. She couldn't live in the house alone anymore, and so I decided to come back to help her because we didn't want to put her in a nursing home. And it's when I came back home, I was invited to come out to then was the new high school. My high school is Memorial Hall that JMU owns. But I went to tour the new high school, which is the current high school now. And when I did the tour, we kind of walked downstairs, and there was a daycare center downstairs. The daycare center was for the teachers. And the person I was walking with was like, no, that's for the students. And so it kind of bothered me that there were girls from the ages of 14 to 17 who were pregnant in my city. That prompted me to do some research on teenage pregnancy, and I found out that Harrisonburg was like second highest city in the state of Virginia in teenage pregnancy. And so that's when I decided to do work with young ladies. And so I started my own nonprofit called Ruby Slippers, which eventually went into the school system as an after-school program for girls. From that, involved On the Road Collaborative, which I am now the director of community and school partnerships. We serve middle school, high school, over 300 students. But that's what started me to go to city council meetings, because I never went to city council meetings because of the overcrowdedness of the high school. So I started going to city council meetings and I saw that I was looking up this one particular meeting. I was there. It was like a 7-hour meeting. It was crazy. And the main topic was the high school. But I looked at the dais and it was all men. Chris Jones was the mayor, and he's African American. But overall, it looked like the same leadership that's always been in Harrisonburg since I was growing up. Then it was 2016. Hillary Clinton was running for president, and I had it in my mind that it was time for a woman to run for Harrisonburg City Council. Just a quick backdrop: only 3 women have ever served on Harrisonburg City Council in over 100 years. Only 3 African American men served on Harrisonburg City Council. The last woman to serve on Harrisonburg City Council was back in 2006. And so I decided to find a woman. I found this woman. She agreed to run. I was her campaign manager. And throughout the process, she kept asking me, why haven't you decided to do this? You need to run. And I just felt like I wasn't qualified. I didn't feel like Harrisonburg would vote for me, would vote for a Black woman. I didn't think they were ready for that. She did, and what she ended up doing was she dropped out the race. And I put my name in. And, from there, I won the most votes ever in a city council race. My colleagues appointed me mayor as soon as I was sworn in as a council. They appointed me mayor, and I've been mayor ever since for my entire 4 years. So that's kind of my story. I think the one thing that I am most proud of, and what I really wanted to do, was it was important to me that Harrisonburg's leadership reflect the city that we are. And so, as you know, we are a very diverse city. We have well over 60 different languages spoken in Harrisonburg school system. But the leadership, like I said, didn't reflect who we are as Harrisonburg, our diversity. So by being on council, we were able to hire our first African American city manager. who then hired our first African-American police chief. We have our first Hispanic vice mayor. We have our first Latina director of Parks and Recs. Our leadership, city leadership, is going forward, and it's starting to reflect the diversity of our city. And I thought that was very important. I say this all the time with no disrespect, but the good old boy network is gone. And it needed to be gone because it needs to be those voices at the table that wouldn't necessarily be there and have the opportunity to serve as counselors, as board and commissions. So that's something that I'm very proud of, is bringing more diversity to leadership roles. Well, I mean, we still have a lot of issues that need to be fixed, and that's why I'm running for re-election. I mean, it pains me that we have people living out on the streets. You know, we have to fix our homeless issue, but along with homelessness comes affordable housing. Harrisonburg is a terrific place to live, but you got to be able to afford to live here. And so those two issues I'm working on now, and I'm going to continue to work on as I'm reelected. As for, I knew my dog was going to start barking. Stop. As for, I hope you are able to edit this. As for building relationships, I want to be able to build stronger and positive relationships between the community and the students, and not only JMU students, but EMU students, because we all are Harrisonburg, right? Harrisonburg is 54,000 students. You all are half of our population, and so we need each other, but we need to be better neighbors to each other. So I'm hoping to really build on that. I'm wanting to create some student city council liaison committees. I want students to be on our boards and our committees. I think we need to hear more from your voice. And so that's something that I'm really going to work on my next term. Well, I think I've shown students that you all are a part of our community, and I'm very passionate about that, because how I grew up here in Harrisonburg. When I grew up here in Harrisonburg, there was a clear distinction, there was a clear divide between the JMU community and the Townie community, to be honest. And that's something that I did not like. I could not imagine, as a Harrisonburg High School student, I couldn't even imagine going a couple of blocks down the road to JMU. And there are youth, kids here in my neighborhood who still can't envision that. And so I'm real intentional about making building a stronger relationship through our student community and our residents here in Harrisonburg. And I think that because of me being from Harrisonburg, for me being on boards at JMU and EMU, I serve on several boards at both universities, and because I'm connected to JMU even through my community service, my sorority. I'm an advisor, been an advisor for JMU's Deltas for over 20 years. That I can build those positive relationships between the JMU community and the Harrisonburg community, and I'm not going to accept anything less than that. I'm just not trying to get your votes. Even if I wasn't serving on council, I still will be working with the students, because that's what my life work is. I think Harrisonburg is a very compassionate and loving community, and I see it over and over again, all the time, during COVID, during the racial injustices that's out there with George Floyd, and we came together. I don't even know if y'all know this, but there was one particular neighborhood, Franklin Street Neighbors, It's a predominantly white neighborhood. It's pretty much an all white neighborhood. They were the ones who went out and did the Black Lives Matter campaign here in Harrisonburg. They bought those signs and they put them all over. There's over 600 signs in Harrisonburg. And then they donated the proceeds to the Northeast Neighborhood Association, who is an organization out of my neighborhood. I mean, that's love and that's compassion. It was JMU, right, and the city of Harrisonburg, who came together during the pandemic so that our homeless people had an emergency shelter, and we did that at Godwin Hall. That's love. I mean, that's who we are, and we, when we say we're the friendly city, we are the friendly city. Now, do we have more work to do? Yes, we do. But the core of who we are as Harrisonburg residents and a Harrisonburg community is compassion, and nobody can tell me anything differently.